Hi everyone, this is Jason Burak of Wall Street for Main Street. Today is Monday, June 28th, 2010. Just wanted to give a little update on BP and my analysis of the stock and also the current events revolving around the Gulf and of BP as we know them. BP right now, the stock is trading at, second here, let me look this up. Stock is now trading at $27.50. We recommended you buy out-of-the-money puts on it when it was above 31. So oil hasn't really dropped that much, and BP is starting to tank. Some of the current events that are going on is that more of the tar balls and oil, like actual oil, not the film stuff, like real thick oil, is starting to wash up more on Florida beaches, and that means that the oil has gone around the Gulf Coast there through the Gulf Stream, I guess it's called, and is going up the Atlantic seaboard. So I don't know if we'll be seeing it in the Virginia or New York, but the odds are probably pretty good that we're going to start seeing some of it over the next couple weeks or months. Also, there is a hurricane, or a tropical storm right now, rather. It's upgraded, downgraded. You know how it is with the Gulf. But right now, there is some type of storm inside the Gulf. I think they said it's more likely to hit the Cancun area or right above Cancun in Mexico. But you never know with those things. They could, just circle around the Gulf. And this is also supposed to be the worst year in a long, long time for hurricanes. So because the waters are warm, if that happens, you were looking at possibly oil and this dispersant being dumped by a hurricane many, many miles inland on shore. That would be even more catastrophic, and it would make cleanup even more complicated. And who knows if BP would even be able to be found liable, but it would just be such bad PR for BP. Who'd want to hold the stock? Also wanted to talk about CNBC today. CNBC was having a pretty good discussion today. Apparently BP, as I said a couple weeks ago, BP was trying to go into the bond markets, and at first they were trying to raise about $10 billion in bond offerings, and no one would bite on that. So then they were asking around and trying to get a feel for about $4 to $5 billion in bond offerings, and I don't even think they can get that at this point. There's just so much legal uncertainty. You have PIMCO and some of these other high-powered bond dealers who aren't even willing to lend them $4 or $5 billion at pretty high interest rates, close to junk interest rates, in fact. So that's not a good sign either for BP. I actually just heard Talking Head about 40 minutes ago on CNBC talk about how BP had over $30 billion in cash and like $300 billion in assets and this and that. But what he did not mention was share owners' equity, how BP has to use a lot of debt to find that oil, and it's no guarantee they even find the oil. So if you go in there and analyze BP's balance sheet, you realize that they're very debt-heavy compared to some of the other oil majors that I wrote in my article on BP. I have that analyzed well. But no mention of that there. I don't think this guy is putting his money where his mouth is, because if he was risking his own money, I don't think he would put it on BP to go long here at this point. Now, if BP does drop below $15 at maybe close to $10, I think BP might be a good buy if this is conditional. If the more of the bad news and risk is priced into the stock. That means we need a lot more legal certainty here. There is so much legal uncertainty here. It's a noose or a guillotine hanging over BP's head. I also saw at the end of last week how Pazar Feinberg, who's now in charge of handing out the $20 billion fund for BP, says he doesn't think it will be nearly enough. So BP is still trying to sell assets and do other stuff to raise that $40 or $50 billion extra, but I still don't think that's going to be enough either. I think once the dust settles, 5 or 10 years from now, I think you're going to look back and people are going to laugh at thinking that BP would owe less than $100 billion. I think BP by far, because if that oil gets into the right part of the ocean, it'll spread all across the world. So just giving you an update here. BP's already dropped stock in terms of stock price quite a bit. Looks to be a pretty good trade to the downside. In terms of shorting, I think shorting, like directly shorting, is too much of a risk because oil prices are too volatile. You can do this by buying in-the-money puts, like one of my friends, Dennis, just did, or you can buy out-of-the-money puts and give yourself more time. It's your call. I think the best money to be made at BP as a trade is to the downside still. So thank you, everyone. I hope everyone will have a nice week, and I will check in with you later in the week, hopefully, maybe on some gold and silver. They're a little bit down this week. I'm not sure how much money there's a treasury auction for, but it is what it is. Gold's going to be up and down, like in the short term. Long term, you know what the long term trend is. So everyone have a great week, and I will see you later.